We're live.
We're gonna call this meeting to order at 7:08 AM. Okay, I guess it's working, maybe. Okay, so we'll go ahead and look at that attendance sheet was going around, so make sure you sign in, sign that. We're all good there. Are there any amendments to the agenda today? All right, Megan, yeah, we'll go. So,
I have 7 amendments to the agenda. I would like to add Joseph Lau for Campus Programs Committee.
can I get you the mic? I'm sorry, because
Yeah.
I can't even.
There's one up here.
One of my job. Dang.
Yeah. We got one, we got more to say. No one has.
Hello? Hello? Okay. I have 7 amendments to the agenda. I would like to add Joseph Lau for Campus Programs Committee, Josue Picasso for USAC CS Mini Fund, Dulce Hernandez for USAC CS Mini Fund, Jana Sadi for Academic Senate, Legislative Assembly, Jamil Carva for Academic Senate Faculty Executive Committee, for Jocelyn Leon, USAC Office Space Allocation Committee, and Avantika Mohan for TGIF. And I will edit that right now.
Okay, and I'm gonna wait until you're done with that, until we have the next person go. Okay? So, give it a moment.
We're good.
Oh. You're good. Okay, Eva, your hand up?
Can we, please strike the back allocation? Right.
Sujana,
Can you please strike ASR at the TGIF allocations? Thank you.
and then Evan.
Can we please strike DGIF?
Okay, and then Janice.
Okay, there we go. Could I strike the SWC programming fund?
Okay, and now moving to people on Zoom, Alicia?
Hi, could I do my updates spoken and, yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. And then. Sorry, I'm trying to read the Zoom. And then Bethany, for background policy.
Hi, can we please strike capital contingency allocations?
Yep. Okay. That's everything. Any further amendments? Okay, sounds good. Can I have a motion? Oh, okay, sorry. Tara, can you pass the mic?
We added one item to talk about, PPO.
Is there, I don't hear it. Oh, it's on there. Okay, got it. Okay. Okay, Megan. All right, have a motion. Can you be more specific with?
Motion to approve the USAC agenda for October 7th.
Okay, you have a motion, Sujana, second, all in favor, please raise your hand. All right, please lower your hands. All against? All abstaining? All right, with a 12-0 vote, the agenda is approved for today. Okay. Hope everyone got to see the minutes from our last meeting. Sorry. Okay, so we're gonna need 2 separate motions for that. So I hope everyone was able to review those notes. So can I have a motion to approve the 9/26 one first? Jonathan?
Motion to approve the 926.
Second.
All right, Jonathan motion, Sujana seconds, all in favor, please raise your hand. All right, please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All same, please raise your hands. Alicia, was that a hand for 4?
It's in favor, sorry. I lowered it to.
All right, That is a 12-0 vote, so the meeting notes are approved for the 9/26 meeting. Okay, the other one was 10-3. Okay. Have a motion to approve those? Yeah. It's not on.
I moved to approve the agenda for, what was it?
October 3rd.
October 3rd.
No second?
I second.
All right, Jess motions, Evan seconds, all in favor, please raise your hand. All right, please lower your hands. All against, all abstaining. All right, with a 12-0 vote, the October 3rd meeting notes are approved as well. Thank you. Okay. So before going into public comment, just a reminder of our community guidelines: challenge ideas, not individuals. Use gender inclusive and respectful language. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom from accountability. Each speaker will give 2 minutes to speak and the opportunity to speak only once. Please do not use any dehumanizing language. And with that, we are going to go ahead and start public comment at 7:14 p.m. We're going to do votes in the space first. And, oh, wait, is there, your hand raised on the thing? Oh, wait, sorry. Okay. Okay, got it. Okay, so we're gonna start with people in person first. So if you are here for public comment, go ahead and raise your hand. Claire, I see. Okay, so we'll go ahead and give you mic.
Hello? Okay. Awesome. Hello, everyone. Quick reminder, my name's Clara. I'm the chapter chair for CalPERG, I feel like. I want to do a quick update about what's going on. It is right now the time of year where the governor is signing all the bills. So I want to tell you guys about 2 of the bills we're working on, which just got signed. The first one is our Save the Bees bill, AB 363, that bans neonicotinoids in California. That one got signed yesterday. And then the other one is on the right to repair. Basically the concept that stuff that you buy, you should have the right to fix if it breaks. So that we don't have to just buy another one. Most common to us example of that is like your phone. That a lot of times it's cheaper and easier to buy a phone instead of like getting your phone fixed. So a right to repair bill called SB 244 got signed today. So super exciting. It's a really big deal because Apple is in California. Really hard to pass them here related to that. But oh yeah, those are 2 legislative updates. The other thing, the biggest event we're doing this week is our big kickoff campaign launch meeting. It is tomorrow. We're gonna launch all of our campaigns officially. It's gonna be a super big meeting. There's gonna be like over 100 people there. So we're super excited about that. There's tons of students interested in getting involved on all of our campaigns. But yeah, that's all for me. I think it's everything.
Okay. Anyone else here for public comment via Zoom or in person? Okay, thank you. Are there any hands raised in Zoom? Megan? And Eliana? Okay, so we'll go ahead and have Eliana go for public comments.
Hello, thank you, Naomi. So I'm here to speak about a Cultural Affairs Commission statement on the recent Hamas attack against Israel. The statement said that you support cultural affairs specifically. I'm not calling out anyone here who didn't support that. Love to those of you who are against this kind of thing. But the statement said you support the Palestinians on the front lines taking their land and sovereignty back. That's maybe not an exact quote, but a paraphrase. And what the Palestinians, the people in question, have been doing is murdering people, raping people, taking hostages, torturing people, posting videos proudly of them doing all those things. And that you would support that just because the victims are Israelis and you believe or claim to believe incorrectly that they are colonizers and all of that is quite horrifying. Like, there's room for a lot of politics, but what is unacceptable is when people just living their lives, all kinds of people, babies, elderly people, disabled people, as children, women, just human beings who are not attacking anybody, who are not threatening anyone, who are just trying to live, who are at a dance party, a rave, or in their own homes, and people like that are murdered and are raped and are mistreated in the most brutal ways deliberately by groups, which has said they want to kill Jews around the world, and commission feels the need to express support for that. That's actually pretty awful, and I think everyone ought to speak out against that, and I think those who did this ought to apologize and take it down and learn something about what's really been going on, and if they are not willing to do that, then they should not be in these positions claiming to represent us getting our money. And thank you to those in the Jewish community and from all communities, from all backgrounds, who have spoken out against these atrocities. I greatly appreciate you very much, and I send my love to all of you.
Yeah, Ariana. Is public comment in person? Okay, can we pass the mic there?
Hi, everyone. My name is Tal Israeli. That's my last name. If you couldn't tell, I've had a hard weekend. I've been very personally affected. To give you some background, my cousin is currently missing. My best friend's brother has been killed, and I know a woman who has been raped. And these are all things I've had to experience. And so to read a comment like the one from the Cultural Affairs Committee that kind of excused that and didn't really mention, you know, what's going on right now, because this is a complex issue and there's time to talk about that. There's always time to talk about it. But what's going on right now is that a terrorist group, Hamas, is killing civilians. That is all that is going on right now. If you supported Ukraine and if you supported the people of Iran and their struggle against repressive governments, then you should be standing with the people of Israel right now, the civilians. And my cousin and my best friend's brother just turned 18 and was murdered. And I simply don't see any room for language that doesn't support the innocent civilians who are not their government, who are being killed and murdered and raped. And the people who are sharing those videos and saying, you know, turn it vertical so we can see it. I simply don't see any reason why that is any form of justice. And, you know, I'm hurting and real people are getting hurt by statements like this. And I've had to personally fear for my life, my safety because of my last name and my family this weekend. And I think that as a school, we should support anyone who is murdered, raped or killed, whether that is an innocent Israeli or an innocent Palestinian. And I think that the Cultural Affairs Committee should issue a public and official response retracting that statement. And I think as a school, we need to be here for the people whose lives are hurting, whoever they are. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Alicia, would you like to?
Yes, I will not be retracting my statement. 3 days ago was an unprecedented historic moment for the Palestinians of Gaza, who tore through the wall that has been suffocating them in one of the most densely populated areas on earth for the past 16 years. Where were you in 2016, in 2018, when Palestinians were peacefully protesting? Like, I am not, and no one supporting the liberation of Palestine is celebrating the brutalization of bodies. And to claim that supporters of Free Palestine are doing so is a deflection tool that abuse apologists often use. It allows them to create a moral vacuum where they can unequivocally condemn violence while removing historical context of the 75-year anniversary of the Nakba, where like there is a clear power dynamic where Israel is backed by the Western, the colonizers of the world, and a military that is billions enriched, and people who have experienced prolonged abuse in Palestine, like they have the right to resist annihilation. They have the right to resist annihilation from people who are bombing them. They are using white phosphorus against Palestinians. And most of the media you're seeing are actually Palestinian civilians. Like there is so much propaganda claiming that they're quote unquote Israeli. Those are settlers. And they are not the ones like getting abused. There is a clear power dynamic. And cultural affairs, as they've done so for years, we will continue to stand with Palestinians for liberation. And we do understand that decolonization is not a metaphor and that these people deserve their land back. This occupation has lasted 75 years. And now that they are actually like making a change and indenting like power structures with Israeli officials and cops, that is major. Like the Great March of Return in 2018 left hundreds of Palestinians dead. And where were you when Israel indiscriminately bombed
Yeah.
Palestinian civilians in Gaza in 2008? You care more about different types of people, and you're dehumanizing.
Yes. Yes. We'll get past to the mic first.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Rachel. I'm a fourth year here. I'm a psychology major. I'm a Middle Eastern Studies major. Studying Israel-Palestine has been my lifeblood ever since I was a freshman in college. I have lost countless friends and social relationships and opportunities because of my actions in standing with Palestinians. I've been physically threatened when I was in the West Bank, sleeping overnight outside in a tent. And I was chased by settlers in the West Bank on a horse with a gun. So I know what it means to make sacrifices for the Palestinian cause. And so I'm not saying this because I think I deserve a medal. I'm saying it because I know what it means to stand with Palestinians. And what has happened this past weekend is not how we achieve Palestinian liberation. I am a proud Jewish person too, and I am so horrified and disgusted the way that my fellow peers at UCLA have treated the massacre that happened in Israel-Palestine. I have so many friends, so many Israeli friends, so many Palestinian friends who are deeply, deeply affected by the violence. Hamas is a terrorist organization. They don't speak for Palestinians. They don't want to protect Palestinians. They committed this genocide against the Israeli people, knowing that it would only come to hurt Palestinians in Gaza. And so I'm praying for the safety of all civilians, be they Israeli, be they Palestinian. But we have to acknowledge that in this particular instance, like Tal said, there are times to discuss the history. God knows I've been doing that for so long. But that's not what this is about right now. Right now, we have to talk about the fact that 1,000 Israelis were brutally attacked. I'm not going to get into details because it's horrific. And that doesn't mean that the war crimes committed against the Israeli people should beget war crimes against the Palestinian people. And I pray that it doesn't come to that. But what I do believe is that we should stand in solidarity with what has happened to the Israeli people. And I'm so deeply and objectively horrified at people who consider themselves progressive, standing for that kind of violence. Thank you.
Hi, I hope you'll excuse my lack of eloquence. As a Jew, I've been frequently checking social media to see if there's any updates on my loved ones. And 30 minutes before this meeting, I saw a video of a kibbutz in Israel with a baby with its head cut off, a purple lifeless body. So if that, or the 40 babies beheaded in that kibbutz, or the 260 murdered at a peaceful music festival, or the videos of women with blood gushing between their legs, indicative of rape, doesn't convince you that this is not liberation, it's terrorism. And this wasn't, Hamas is a terrorist group, point blank. They do not stand for all of Palestine, and they certainly do not stand for all or close of anyone with Islam. So if you won't take it from me, I'm going to read some of Hamas's constitution that shows exactly who they are. The day of judgment will not come until Muslims fight Jews and kill them. Then the Jews will hide behind rocks and trees, and the rocks and trees will cry out, "Oh Muslim, there is a Jew hiding behind me, come and kill him." Peace initiatives and so-called peaceful solutions and internal conferences are in contradiction to the principles of the Islamic resistance movement. Those conferences are no more than a means to appoint the infidels as arbitrators in the lands of Islam. There is no solution for the Palestinian people except by jihad. Initiatives, proposals, and international conferences are but a waste of time and exercise in utility. The enemies, the Jews, have been scheming for a long time and have accumulated huge and influential material wealth. This is just basically anti-Semitic jokes and calling for violence. This is terror. There have been atrocious crimes committed against the Palestinian people. There is no doubt about that. But what we saw this weekend was a terrorist attack on innocent babies, elderly, men, women, people watching a music festival. And to post that and laud it as if liberation and celebrate that is to excuse it and encourage violence against the Jewish community on campus. Many of us who do not know if our family members and friends in Israel are dead or alive. This is dangerous and deeply, deeply irresponsible and not representative of cultural affairs of any kind.
Are there any remaining votes for public comments? Is there anyone else on Zoom?
Sarah and Erin.
Sarah, did you?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, apologies. Okay, with that, I'll be closing public comment. Oh, I'm so sorry. Aria? Oh, on Zoom?
Hi, I just wanted to respond to CAC's response to Eliana, basically saying where we were in 2016 when Palestinians were protesting. I want to ask where the CAC was when those Palestinians were protesting. Again, speaking about the history and speaking about the context, in 2016, Hamas, who the CAC was praising in her statements, killed thousands of protesters in the Gaza Strip. I want to reiterate how standing with Hamas is not standing with Palestinians, and how in this moment of crisis, our hearts and our minds should be with the Israeli people whose family members are missing, including my own, whose friends are missing, including my own, who are being sadly violated and sadly murdered on the streets for living their basic lives. In the same way we must look at the history and the context and understand the Palestinian plight, we must also understand the Jewish plight. I believe that it is frankly anti-Semitic not to understand the history and the discourse that goes into the Jewish hatred and the oldest known hatred in the world that is anti-Semitism, and to not take back those comments and to not feel even a shred of remorse. Frankly, it's as if to side with terrorism. It's as if to side with barbarianism. It's as if to say that our lives are worthless.
And in person, sorry. No. Or no, I'm sorry. And then can we pass the mic?
Hi, I'm speaking as someone who's been in student government for the past 3 years. I'm frankly disgusted that no one has spoken up against Alicia, who you've just seen.
Well, I have the seat this time, and I'm about to ask you, are you a current undergraduate at
I'm a
USAC?
current and you haven't interrupted anyone else to ask that.
As someone that runs the meeting, I'm able to see time and interrupt as I see, so I could cede you time to give your 2-minute public comment as I'm doing right now, so please continue.
Please restart my time.
I have. Perfect.
Alicia has made disgustingly vile anti-Semitic comments against our entire community. sitting with someone on your council who does not condemn a terrorist organization, who's supposed to represent all students, who has come to this meeting to say that she appreciates people killing innocent civilians, is horrific. And none of you can understand what it's like to not hear from your families for days, to know that they're being held hostage, to know that they're being killed. This is so unrepresentative of your fellow students who you've been this far unsympathetic with. She's made statements, and all of you have sat here and said nothing. Where is your solidarity with us? We've made statements with Iranian students when the war in Ukraine broke out. We've stood with every other single group, and always when it comes to our group, there's silence.
Thank you. Is that it? Sorry, your hand's still promoted to.
No,
Okay. So typically, how public comment works is that we see time to the public to basically have up to 2 minutes to speak on anything revolving undergraduate life at UCLA. So council members in themselves don't usually make comments unless I cede them time to. So Sarah has her hand raised, so I'm going to cede time to Sarah to say something.
Hello, everyone. I would just like to take this moment to shed light on all the students who have come today to share their stories, and first of all, thank them for being so brave for being here. As a Jewish student, I can say how unsafe I feel right now, being in this room and sharing these stories. On another note, I would like to specifically point out the last public comment and implore council members to currently at this time stand with the Jewish community. Our community, and this will be mentioned in my officer report, but at the end of the day, our community currently is in mourning. I have faced anti-Semitism, and most Jews that I know have faced anti-Semitism. The acts of the current Hamas organization are textbook anti-Semitism that has caused the destruction of hundreds and thousands of Israeli lives. Wherever you stand on the issue, hate should be condemned. Killing should be condemned. Rape should be condemned. Even where the issue that we're discussing right now is not Israel-Palestine, is not, and the plight of the Palestinian people should 100% be acknowledged. But the Jewish community is suffering right now, and silence cannot be the answer. We need people to stand with us as we have stood in the past with other communities. Thank you.
There's one more. We have like 1 minute on Zoom.
Okay. And go ahead, I'm sorry, I cannot see the Zoom name from right where I'm at. They would. Anat,
Hello. I just wanted to comment. Please give me 1 second. I believed that the time had run out. And so I got rid of the statement. I just wanted to make a statement on behalf of Students for Justice in Palestine, as well as Jewish Voice for Peace. We want to sort of strongly condemn any accusations of anti-Semitism. Alicia has criticized Zionist talking points and has, that and a lot of what Alicia has said has been characterized as anti-Semitic. However, we would extremely strongly emphasize that anti-Zionist speech cannot be characterized as anti-Semitic. Making remarks regarding Israel and regarding Zionists is not the same as making remarks regarding an entire Jewish community, and to claim that they are is to say that Zionism is representative of Judaism, which it is not. by conflating anti-Zionism and support for Palestine with anti-Semitism, the UCLA community is told that the free expression of those who question Zionism cannot be tolerated. We strongly condemn the notion that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism and stress the importance of not equating the two. Palestinians have been facing violence, as has been mentioned by almost every speaker here. Palestinians have been facing violence for the past 75 years. It is a gravely unequal situation where there have been thousands and thousands more Palestinians that have died, civilians that have died over the past 75 years than have Israelis. It has been characterized as an apartheid by human rights organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch. Nelson Mandela, the at the forefront of South African fight against apartheid, has likened the struggle of South Africans in their fight against apartheid to the struggle of Palestinians, and has said that we cannot be free until the Palestinians are free. By not understanding and welcoming and trying to make a safe space for Palestinian students who are trying to support their people, their own people back in Palestine, it's not a
Is there any remaining proposed comment? Yes, if I said the mic.
So I just want to say, I know those people are fighting for the justice of Palestine. I'm from Israel. I have a friend who is now missing and is probably kidnapped. I have family who had terrorists invading their home with 3 girls and a baby. They luckily survived. But even with that, I would never wish any Palestinian to be raped, to be kidnapped, to have their babies killed, to have their house destroyed, because I don't think that's justice. And saying that this is justice for the Palestinians is just not true. A baby doesn't have anything to do with the conflict. A baby is not a threat. He doesn't have any opinions. Kidnapping elderly people who can't fight back, that's not justice. They don't have anything to do with it. That's all I have to say. There's one thing I don't understand. I don't understand how you can not once have said anything about being sorry for all the families, all the people that got murdered, all the people that were kidnapped, all the women that were raped. Not once did any of you say anything about feeling sorry for that and apologizing. I mean, sure, I'm not apologizing because it is your fault. It is not. This is not a matter of Israel versus Palestine. This is a matter of you at least just sharing some sympathy, some empathy for everyone that we lost. That's it. Just as you can still support and be against the Israeli government if you want, but at least share some sympathy. That's all we ask. Like, that's honestly all we ask.
Okay. I will now be closing public comment at 7:42. I was going to wait to the end for remarks, but thank you for that call of action from council member. Thank you all for being here. As Sarah said, it does take bravery to come here into a public setting to speak on these various scenarios that you have personally experienced, and also to what you've seen on social media, whether that's just from people at UCLA, people from wherever, if it's from council members themselves. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this has happened. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, okay? I don't know what each council member will do, but you'll be hearing from me, okay? All right. We will be going into the rest of our meeting for today. Frank, you're welcome to stay. You're welcome to leave. We have first contingency programming, with Lucy Bethany.
Hi, this week we had a total contingency programming request of $27,448.37. And we recommend an allocation of $9,780 for 36 non-USAC entity related events. I'm happy to answer any questions, and if there's any questions I cannot answer, Lucy will be able to answer them through the FICOM email. I'll put this in the chat as well.
Any questions? Come motion,
To approve the FICOM funding or for the
can you say the number? Megan, would you be able to tell her the number?
It's $27,448.37.
That was the recommended? That was the request. Can we have the recommended number?
An allocation of $9,708 for 36 non-USAC entity related events.
Okay, Megan, it might be best if you just make the motion then.
I motion to approve a contingency programming for a recommended allocation of $9,780 for 36 non-USAC entity related events.
Have a second.
A second.
Megan motions, Evan seconds, all in favor, please raise your hand. Please raise your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All same, please raise your hand. All right, with 12 to 0 vote, sorry, that's my me. With 12 to 0 vote, the contingency programming is approved. Okay, so moving forward, we have SFS allocations.
Hi, everyone. So for SFS, we had a total of 12,410 requested, and we allocated 1,725 to a total of 3 clubs. And all 3 are non-CSC affiliated.
Any opposition? Okay, that's approved. So now we'll move forward with ARC allocations.
We allocated $2,000 to one USAC entity.
Okay, Kevin, is there, any opposition? Okay, that's approved. Okay, so now we'll be going into appointments. A reminder of how the appointments process works. The candidates have a 1-minute opening statement, followed by a brief question and answer period from council. Then they have a 1-minute closing statement. Then we hear ARC's recommendations, and then we do a brief deliberation period before we move to vote. So starting off first, we have our campus program committee, Joseph. And then we'll give you a mic to give your opening statement.
So hi, council members. My name is Joseph Lau. I'm a freshman here at UCLA and I'm majoring in physics. I'm from Hong Kong, so an international student, and my pronouns are he, him. So I'm applying for the Campus Programs Committee, CPC, as I have a genuine passion for creating a dynamic and inclusive campus environment that flourishes both academically and culturally. I firmly believe that the UCLA experience goes beyond the lecture hall, and that extracurricular activities and programs indeed play a vital role in enhancing students' education and cultural engagement. Through the CPC, I want to boost the overall student experience at UCLA, both inside and outside of the classroom. As to why I believe I'm a great fit for the CPC, I have a couple of reasons. First of all, I have sound financial acumen, as I'm experienced and familiar with data and creating records and sheets, as I have practical experience in program management through my involvement in high school activities, such as leading the Student Advisors Council, leading the English Committee, leading the community engagements, and so on. And in these roles, I've successfully organized and executed large-scale events, collaborating with diverse groups of students and stakeholders. As we all know, budget management is crucial for all groups and organizations. And through my experience, I've meticulously managed the budgets for committees I've oversaw by creating effective spreadsheets and documents to list out all the expenditures, etc. To elaborate, some of the whole school events I've organized include the annual book week, community engagement, an outreach day, presentations for higher education, and multiple academic fairs. These past experiences has also vastly strengthened my decision-making skills and analytical thinking by weighing all aspects, pros and cons, which is utterly pivotal to this position. As a CPC member, I can also provide my knowledge of mathematics and statistics to help analyze and predict current trends or models of the budgets, alongside coming up with best ways to optimize CPC funds for the student organizations that have applied. Thus, I'm extremely confident in my ability to review a variety of campus funding proposals, evaluate and assess their financial feasibility, and also make well-informed decisions regarding fund allocation to ensure the most significant impact on the campus committee.
Thank you. Okay. We'll go into a brief question and answer period from council members. Any questions? Sarah?
Hello, thank you so much for coming to our council meeting and taking time out of your day. I just wanted to ask that I think issue that funding bodies universally receive is a limited amount of funding and a lot of applying for all with a lot of merit. So on this body, what do you hope to prioritize when looking at student applications?
Right, I understand this is a major issue as I was a student leader in my high school before, and now I also had to apply for lots of funding applications, and not all the time they were approved. So I think first of all, we do have to, as a whole campus program committee, we have to carefully and prudently review all our funding cycles. Currently, based on the MyUCL website, we have three fundings: the regular program fund, the youth program fund, and the mini fund. So we have to clearly outline what all these funds represent and what they outline, so that when student organizations apply for these funds, they know what to expect. So that when we approve or do not approve their applications, they'll be understanding of the reasons, as they clearly know our expectations. And I do believe that the foremost way that we should approve funding applications is through if they actually enrich our campus academically and culturally. So events or student organizations that promote events that actually do help students academically and host cultural events throughout the academic year that celebrate different cultures, diverse cultures, etc. Those would be the type of student organizations that I believe we would like to approve.
Any other questions? Okay, go ahead and move forward with your 1 minute closing statement.
All right, so my closing statement is, as a CPC member, I would also be instrumental in the process of reviewing a funding cycle mechanism, as I believe that it's really important to ensure that it is fair, accessible, and equitable to all student-led organizations and the relevant stakeholders, whilst also making any changes if necessary, given the CPC and also the council's approval. In addition, adding more funding cycles that targets a wider audience of student organizations would also be something that I wish to implement. I also aim to promote transparency in CPC decision-making processes, minimize bureaucracy, while also establishing the fact that UCLA students understand how these funding decisions are made and why certain programs are selected for funding, as well as the process of actually submitting these funding applications. In addition, I also firmly believe that identifying needs instead of wants of student organizations during the funding review process is exceedingly important. And I will play my role in assisting these groups to differentiate between these needs and these wants. And my long-term vision for the CPC is to see all student organizations thrive as we collaborate closely and effectively with their student leaders, ultimately making UCLA the most vibrant and exciting campus institution in the United States.
Thank you. Okay. So now let's hear arts recommendations.
Art voted Joseph with a 3-0 vote, and the statement reads, Joseph provided very intellectual ideas for the campus programs committee and has expanded further among student organizations. Like taking freshmen, demonstrated a very clear understanding of the decision-making and allocation process for this position. With this said, Art would like to recommend Joseph with a 3-0 vote.
Thank you. Okay. Brief deliberation time. Any comments, concerns that anybody would like to raise before we vote? Okay, can I have a motion?
I move to appoint Joseph to the campus programs committee.
Second.
Sarah seconds, Megan. Oh my God. Sarah motions, Megan seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hand. All abstaining, please raise your hands. All right, with 11-0 vote. Joseph, you are now on the campus programs committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll be moving to our USAC CSMA funds. We have 2 people for this role, because there are multiple appointments open. We have, I don't want to put your name, Joshua. Oh, okay.
Hello, everybody. My pronouns are he, him, his, and thank you guys for all being here. I'm a 4th year psychology major with 3 minors, one in history, education, and labor studies. And I'm applying for the CS mini fund committee. So I think that I am a good fit for this committee because I actually have been a project director for a student run and founded organization here on campus called LEAP, which stands for Leadership and Advancement Program. And we basically cater to students that are in really, really desperate need. And since I have been a project director for the past 3 years in this organization, for the past 2 years now being the executive director, I feel like I understand the needs of these student organizations, and I want to be a voice for all of these organizations. And I have also applied and filled out these applications to the mini fund. So I feel like I am very proficient knowing the in and outs of the application.
Thank you. Okay, any questions from council? Jane?
Hi, thank you for being here. So my question is, having been a project director, what were some challenges that you faced when, applying to all these funding bodies, and how does that tie into what you want to achieve as a CSBD fund company member?
Yeah, so one of the things that like from the transition from like COVID to like now like present time, one of those transitions was that like moving from project director to project director, we kind of like missed the deadlines for funding just because the transitioning was like kind of delayed. So I feel like the deadlines, like there was just like a lot of misinformation like between myself and like the or like the cabinet that we have right now. So I feel like I would definitely want to spread more awareness of when funding deadlines are happening, about hearings, just because I feel like everything was so new to me. And I want to be like listen to others because it could be very challenging to like, make sure that like you follow on the deadlines. And without funding, like organizations are pretty much like, you can't really function without the funding. So I want to make sure that I can help other organizations.
Any other questions? Sarah?
Given the institutional or like historical lack of representation for like certain marginalized groups, particularly those with like racial margins, like Black students, how do you hope to address those inequities and provide that like same access to this fund for those marginalized groups, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so the project that I'm actually in LEAP, last year we did like we did go to schools that like really targeted like these marginalized communities, like Black and Hispanic students. And I would really want to like look at these applications and be like, okay, I want to see that they're doing really, really great things, because I know that like when we went to these like visits and we met the students, we tutored them, we saw the positive change we made in their lives. So I want to make sure that like a lot of these organizations that are applying that are specifically targeting these marginalized communities, that they're really funded and that they're really continuing the work that they're doing.
Thank you. Okay, so. Any other questions? All right, go ahead and move into your 1-minute closing statement.
So I want to thank you guys for being here, for taking the time to hear my little thoughts that I've been sharing with you guys. I hope that my commitment to the community here at UCLA and like my commitment to help all the communities that are neighboring here around UCLA has shown. I want to express my transparency and non-bias if I'm appointed to this committee. I want to make sure that all communities are uplifted and supported. And yeah, guys.
Thank you. Let's hear Art's recommendations.
Yeah, that's
With a 3 to 0 to 0 vote, then I sincerely read the statement.
With a 3 to 0 vote, Mark endorses the appointment of Postway for the CS Mini Fund. He has a lot of great experience, whereas he helped for underserved communities. He also has strong command to allocate funding to student work and a strong dedication to service. There'll be an incredible presence on the committee, and with this, I'm just more than happy to support this candidate.
Okay, so brief deliberation time, any comments, concerns, or with a vote? Okay, can we have a motion?
I move to approve Postway for the CS Mini Fund for the appointment.
All right, Sarah motions. Was that you the second?
Yeah.
Okay, Gary seconds, all fair, please raise your hand. Okay, please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining, please raise your hands. With a vote of 10 to 0 to 0, Jose, you are now a part of the USAC. Congratulations. Our next appointment for the CS Mini Fund will be Dulce. Oh, I see. Okay, perfect. Go ahead with your 1-minute introduction whenever you're ready.
Hi, everyone. Thank you first of all for being here and hearing me out for my application to the CS Mini Fund Committee. So as mentioned before, I am Dulce Hernandez. I am a 3rd year majoring in sociology, and my pronouns are she. As my background experience within the community service, I am a member of the Hunger Project, which is a program here at UCLA that supports marginalized communities that struggle with food insecurity, and we try to serve populations that go through houselessness. And overall, through my experience in this program, I understand how sometimes in our projects, we don't have enough funding or enough equipment to serve these communities or to provide the sufficient supplies that we have been trying to address. And I think as currently applying for the CS Mini Fund, I would like to be a voice and advocate for these programs such as the Hunger Project and other projects that serve marginalized communities here on campus. I would like to be a voice for them, as I have also experienced, I have also been a member that knows how these projects experience lack of funding, and I think it's very important to be knowledgeable of how these projects really need the appropriate funding to
Thank you. Okay, questions? Gabby?
Hi, first of all, thank you so much for being here. You touched on this a little bit, but can you just talk a little bit about how your experiences prepared you for a role with CS?
Sure. So as being a member of the Hunger Project, I would normally, well, it would be different routines within the week
throughout the quarters, where we would sometimes make hygiene packets or even distribute food. We sometimes would go to sites where we would help out people who were in home shelters and would give them meals, home cooked meals, and as a way to connect with them and as a way to understand what they go through, and they tell us a little bit about their lives. They tell us how they struggle with the food and overall like maintaining a job because of like the background. And I think it's very important to emphasize how these communities deserve a voice more than just someone who's just inside of the program, but also someone who can see it from an external view, just because although we may overlook these communities because we all understand that everyone has hope. But I think it's also very important why.
And Tara?
Kind of similar to the question I asked previously, but switching up a little bit, what's your knowledge of the mother organizations here at UCLA and the community service projects that they have at their disposal? How do you go to increase accessibility for those racially, ethnic, or identity-based student groups on campus?
I'm not as knowledgeable here about the mother boards, but I think as being a member here at UCLA and also trying to reach out to like communities that do deserve funding overall, I think it's all about reaching out to these programs and projects that address the community, because I think that's your question. If not,
Did that fully answer your question? Okay, any further questions? Okay, please go ahead with your 1 minute closing statement.
again, thank you for hearing today and applying for the CS Mini Funds Committee. I really hope I was able to meet any concerns you might have about my experience or overall what I could offer to the committee, and I hope I could.
Thank you. Okay, arts recommendations?
Our, voted 3-0 for Dulcie and dealing.
Dulce is a highly qualified candidate for this position with her extensive experience working with student organizations, especially ones that are directly impacted by the USAC CS Mini Fund. We believe that she will provide great contributions to the committee. With that said, ARC would like to recommend Dulce with a 3-0 vote.
Thank you. Brief deliberation period, any comments, concerns? Okay, with that, can I have a motion?
I move to appoint Dulce to the USAC CS Mini Fund for a year.
A second. All right, Sarah, motion, Jonathan seconds, all in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, these are your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstain, please raise your hands. Well, the next 0-0 votes, also you're now part of the USAC CS Mini. Moving forward with Academic Senate Legislative Assembly, we have Jana. Yes, okay, we'll go ahead and pass it back over and begin with your 1 minute introduction statement when you're ready.
All right, would you like for me to stand up?
Or either, whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay. All right, hi, everyone. My name is Jenna Saadit, and I'm a first year civil engineering student here at UCLA. And I'm applying for the Academic Senate Legislative Assembly. And the reason why I really want to be a part of the Legislative Assembly, and also why I feel like I would be a perfect fit for it, is a lot of my passion and my love for servant leadership. So because I'm a freshman, most of my experiences, I would say, would come from high school. And I would actually served as the student ambassador of my high school, representing 1,700 students.
to the Board of Trustees to my school district. And we had a student voice club at my school that at least during my junior year was inactive. But because I really resonated with the mission of student voice and students feeling like they had a platform where they were heard, I decided to take on that club and build it. And essentially, I connected a lot with my peers. I created initiatives to show them that there's a platform for them to express concerns they had and changes they wanted to make in the school. And more, I started to see more students get involved. And through the knowledge that I had of concerns that students had in my school, I connected that a lot with the adults in my school and in my district. And so from those experiences, I've really seen the importance of what it takes to build a platform for people to feel like they have a voice and they matter, and for them to express themselves, and above all, how to treat that knowledge and bring it to adults who essentially make the decisions. And considering that the Legislative Assembly is just that, being a representative for students and discussing things with faculty to find a common ground and to represent everybody is how I feel that I've been prepared to be here and why I want to be part of the Legislative Assembly.
Okay, questions from council members? Sarah?
Hi, thank you for your council meeting. My question for you is, I think sometimes in the past, there's been a disconnect, between appointed officials and USAC, in the case where sometimes we'd like to advocate for issues that we don't know are happening until after the fact. So how would you work to keep an open line of communication between, the Legislative Assembly and USAC Council?
Sorry, could you repeat the first part of the question? Because I think I didn't hear you correctly, so it kind of like threw off my understanding.
No, for sure. There have been times in the past when issues have arose, that USAC council members only learned about after the fact, and therefore were not able to help advocate as a result.
Okay. So can you also repeat the last part of your question? I'm so sorry.
How would you plan to create an open line of communication between council and the Legislative Assembly?
So generally, well, the reason why I find it kind of hard to answer that is because, well, I'm still kind of getting a feel for the whole structure of like student government and council and all that. But in terms of, I don't know if I'm understanding it correctly, but in terms of advocating for things that you feel like maybe you're not as knowledgeable about, or you don't know how to contribute to the conversation, I think for the most part, I hope this answers it correctly, but I think that what I understand to be the responsibility of the position is understanding the interests of who you are representing. So understanding that when you are in a committee, whether like, being a student representative or the student voice with faculty, is understanding what is the interest of the students aligned with the interests of the faculty. And so with that, how can you find a common ground that is transparent, equitable, and representative of everybody to ensure that a decision is being made to satisfy everyone? I'm not sure if that like really answered your question, but that's just from like my understanding. So I hope that did answer the question.
Further question? Anybody? Okay, thank you. Please go ahead and start your closing statement.
All right. Thank you so much. I think what I'd also like to kind of close off and just finalize to say about myself is really connected again to my experiences and just that basic understanding of what it means to be in the Legislative Assembly and to be a student who is basically trying to influence the decisions being made, because faculty are the ones in power, they're the ones who make the decisions. And so I feel for previous experiences, I've definitely seen what it takes to, how you negotiate with people who essentially are more educated than you, who have more life experience than you. I've seen firsthand what it means to feel intimidated by that fact and to feel that you're very small, or maybe that you're not contributing to the conversation. But from those experiences, I've really seen the power of negotiation and what it means to remember the interests of everybody, and above all, to how to connect the interests between students and faculty to create common ground. So in negotiation, essentially, it's kind of like you think of like which side is going to win, but more of like, how can we look into why people are saying something? What is the motivation behind it, and how can we connect that? And so just from those experiences, I feel that I understand maybe the courage or the bravery and what it takes, like the responsibility of being a student voice amongst a group of faculty.
Thank you. Okay, let's hear Art's recommendation.
Art voted Jenna with a 3-0 vote, and our statement reads Jenna's application and interview were very impressive through the appointment process. She demonstrated the utmost professionalism and passion for student voice and advocacy. Her prior experience representing her community and her unafraid personality will contribute greatly to the academic senate. With a 3-0 vote, Art would like to recommend Jenna for the academic senate legislative assembly.
Thank you. Any comments? Concerns? Can I have a motion?
A motion to appoint Jenna for the academic senate legislative assembly for a 1-year term.
Second.
Mega motions, Tyra, seconds, all in favor, please raise your hand. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All same, please raise your hand. All right, with a 9-0 vote, you are now approved for the academic senate legislative assembly. Thank you. Okay. Moving forward, we have academic senate faculty executive committee, and then please let me know how to pronounce your name. Jermel, thank you. Okay, so go ahead with your 1-minute induction. We'll pass you the mic and you'll be all set.
Hello, can you guys hear me? My name is Romil Karma. My pronouns is he and him. I'm a 3rd-year transfer student from community college. I'm majoring in business economics with concentration in value investment programs. And I'm an immigrant from India and a 1st-generation college student. I applied for the faculty executive committee member representative, representing transfer student, and I'm concerned about ensuring welcome environment for all the students, especially transfer students. Many of them come from a diverse background and may not know UCLA resources. During my first week, I saw how quickly deadline passes, making it hard to join major related clubs. Most transfer students lack experience, which make it tough for them to get into this club. I think I'm a good fit for this position because my major falls under the College of Letters and Science. And I believe I have a good understanding about the programs that the College of Letters and Science offers, as well as I have experience in serving as an economic club secretary back in my college.
Thank you. Questions from council? Megan?
I guess, one question would be why specifically within the academic senate did you want to be on the FEC? I know like the academic senate is like a very large body within multiple committees, so why exactly did you want like this position?
You mean why faculty executive committee?
Yes.
I believe I tried to look at the finance committee as well because I'm interested in finance particularly, but I saw that I applied last time and I think I did not get accepted. That's why I think this is the good position for.
Thank you. Any other questions, council members? I'm gonna try and bring the best I can, but Sujal typically asks the question to each person for academic senate. But it's usually along the lines of basically with the academic senate role, you don't have as much power in executive decisions that come from academic senate. So knowing that, how will you still be able to voice your opinion, voice your thoughts in that space?
Can you more elaborate on the question?
Yes. So with the academic senate position, you don't have an executive like vote. So how will you still be able to amplify your voice in that space?
I would say in this role, I'll ensure transparency and to keep open communication from faculty as well as from the student.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. So moving forward, let's go ahead into your 1-minute closing statement.
Thank you so much for your time. And I'm truly dedicated to improve our College of Letters and Science. If chosen for this faculty executive committee, I'll work tirelessly to represent students and faculty executive. Let's collaborate to enhance our academic programs, support students, and address curricular issues. Thank you so much for considering me, and I'm eager to contribute our college benefit.
Thank you. Now let's hear Art's recommendation.
Did you know they three is against here as well? And I'm really John, I'm ready to see.
Jamil presents many great ideas and initiatives, especially when it comes to supporting marginalized student groups on campus. As a transfer student, he understands the needs of this often neglected community and has goals ensuring he's representing this group and more when involved with the on the Senate. With a vote of 3-0, our believes that Jamil is more than qualified to serve on the Senate within the faculty executive committee.
Thank you. Now let's open to a brief deliberation period. Are there any,
You first, Jamil, I really want to appreciate you coming out here tonight. I know it's not fun to come out on a late Thursday or Tuesday evening. I think at least in some of the answers that I heard, I don't know if we're necessarily, at least in my opinion, ready to appoint you to the faculty executive committee. It didn't seem like you had a very, I guess, full understanding about what the committee does. I do really appreciate you putting yourself out there, but at least my personal recommendation is I think it might be best that we don't go with this appointment. And maybe we can come back at another time when you have a little bit more of an understanding about what the faculty executive committee does, or even just what the academic senate does. And I think that is at least where I'm at with some of those answers.
thank you. Tara?
I think that I want to be in opposition to that, especially within his answers, he did say that there was an explicit lack of access to these USAC appointments as a transfer student, particularly as an incoming transfer. A lot of transfers don't understand the structure of USAC or what these different committees do, but we do have a lot of those like skills to be successful in these committees. And if Art voted 3-0, I think maybe there was something in his interview that he initially mentioned that like kind of sparked something for Art that he didn't mention today. I do want to push back on that in terms of like understanding what this committee does, because he did do his research to understand like this is a committee that he probably would be able to serve well on, and the fact that he came in today to transfer in a space that is dominated primarily by freshman athletes. I do want to acknowledge that as well.
Jonathan?
Yeah, I was the ARC member that had the pleasure of being able to interview Chanel, and I voted yes, and I hear your concerns, Evan, and I agree for many of them. That being said, I'm echoing what Tyler says, and especially with transfer students in particular, this information is kind of to an extent gatekept. And ultimately, I felt that he had the potential, so that's why I myself, because I was the only person that interviewed, recommended him to the rest of ARC. Ultimately, I think he has the potential more than anything, and that's what we need to vote on many times. Because we need to ensure that these positions are open to growth and open to learning, because at the end of the day, this is a public institution and we're here to learn. So I'd like to make sure that, all students have that opportunity to learn both within the classroom and experientially in a variety of different ways, which includes being in the academic senate. And now, yeah, he doesn't have the experience. But myself, when I was a freshman, I didn't have the experience either, and I have the opportunity to immerse myself. So I think at the end of the day, that's why myself and Art voted 3-0 to 0.
I just want to say, in Evan's piece, I didn't hear a question of experience. I heard a question of knowledge of the appointments itself. I wish John was here because I don't know much about the appointment myself to very explicitly kind of ask questions regarding the role. I was trying to look on the Instagram really quickly to find details about it, but I could not. That's enough. I will say in the question that I asked specifically that Sujama does ask, as a candidate for academic senate, I don't believe it was one of the best answers that I've received in regards to amplifying your personal voice into those conversations, given that you have no executive power in those decisions that are made. especially on the faculty executive committee, just by name, I believe it would be quite a high regard in that position. But that's just my thought, but not a voting member. So, yeah. Okay. With that, can we put it to a motion? Sarah?
I move to appoint Jamil to the. It's a long ass title. To the Academic Senate Faculty Executive Committee position as a transfer appointment.
All right, Tara motions, Jonathan seconds, all fair, please raise your hand. Sarah,
Yes.
okay, please raise your hands. All against, please raise your hand. All saying, please raise your hand. Okay. With a, okay. With a 9-1 vote, Jamil, you are now on the Academic Senate and Faculty Executive Committee. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay. Moving forward, we have USAC Office Space Allocation Committee, Jocelyn.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jocelyn, and I'm a fourth year studying political science, minoring in history and Japanese. I'm here trying to get into the OSAC for the Office Space Allocation Committee. Going into my experience a bit, I've had quite a few internships up until now that mostly politically oriented. I think this has really improved my soft skills. I'm not going to go into that because I'm sure you've read a lot of that. But it's also given me a unique mindset of working with a lot of different people outside of UCLA. So going into OSAC, I believe that type of experience will really give me great opinions acting as a license between the student body and then the service workers of Kirkhoff. Moving on to more space-oriented experience, I've worked under the Facilities Commission, still working actually, and my job is very, very space-oriented. For example, I've done surveys working with student bodies, specifically student organizations, trying to gain their opinions on the reservation process of rooms, specifically with Seoul. And I also gained experience speaking with Seoul themselves. So I have not only this type of mindset working with the student body, but also understanding the processes behind Seoul. And while I understand that this is Kirkhoff, what this means is that I understand what is lacking behind student reservation processes, but also where students themselves are lacking. Because although there might be information, a lot of times students don't access it, or in some cases don't know how to access it. So I want this information to be able to make its way to OSAC. And so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now let's open it to questions from council. Evan.
Thank you so much for coming out here tonight, Jocelyn. My question for you is, what does equitable space allocation mean to you?
Kind of going out with a little bit of extension, but I promise I'll make my way back to that. Kirkhoff is not huge. I know it seems huge, but there are still some organizations here at UCLA. So kind of looking at this kind of equitable space usage, I think we would have to look at it like on a historical basis of how students have used that space before, what organizations are applying. I'm assuming it's like that there's like no information anywhere, kind of like what I use, that it's very kind of untransparent. But looking at it on a historical basis, how it's been used, how these student organizations will use it, will it be used to its full usage? And then who are the organizations that are applying? Because if we're trying to kind of make it equitable, I think we would really need to kind of make sure that the minorities or these groups that don't really get a lot of voice at UCLA are also being kind of allocated some type of space in order to make sure that the student body, because it's very diverse, is being represented at Kirkhoff, whether this be like spaces as rooms or like development.
Thank you. Other questions? Quick question for me, is there still gonna, if we appoint Jocelyn, it's gonna be 2 people? Okay, cool. I have a question then. Okay. How do you work in teams and partnerships? Do you have an example from a previous internship or a previous job or even that classroom activity?
Yeah, I have a lot actually.
Period.
So last year I was also a director, assistant director this year for one of the Facilities Commission's projects. But this year I'm the only one. Last year I actually had a co-director. And so at first it was
not rocky per se, but it was kind of just like the situation of figuring it out. And so as we went along, we definitely learned how to communicate better, how to work together better. So by the end of it, it was very, very smooth, very kind of flowy, if you will. So I like to believe that I work very well with other people because I prioritize communication. That is what is, my opinion, the most important thing when working with other people. If you have a problem with them, rather than like arguing with them and be like, hey, you know, like this is the issue, or, you know, communicating your opinions with other people as well. It's just about, you know, communication. I'll just say that.
Thank you. Any other questions from council members? Oh, Sarah, sorry.
Hi, Justin. Thank you for coming to our council today. My question is, I think oftentimes, emails, to be quite frank, emails about space are sometimes ignored by students. How do you plan on addressing that through this role? Yeah, so I know this probably more than a lot of people, having done that survey that I mentioned earlier. I don't know what it is about emails. Students just love ignoring them. Students like, maybe they just see it and they go, oh, I don't want to read this, but they do tend to ignore them. I think it's important to set up a system where students will not necessarily be forced to see it, but will inevitably see it. If it's an email, maybe do a follow-up. If it's, I mentioned this briefly earlier, but the Instagram for USAC is kind of dead. So so many students use Instagram, so I do believe that it's important to renovate it and fix it up so that more students are becoming aware of it, and then ensure that the OSAC Instagram, if it's utilized, it's known. So maybe ask other accounts, post it so that people know about it. I know with the Facilities Commission, we actually got a lot more following after we gave away stickers for some reason. So it's just making sure that it's out there, that students will inevitably see it, whether it be through Instagram, email, or like a hybrid method.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, Justin, go ahead with your 1 minute statement.
Yeah, of course. So there are so many students at UCLA without, there are just such an abundant amount of student organizations, but there's not really enough space for everyone. Like what Evan said, I want to be able to make this process equitable and ensure that just such a diverse number of student orgs are being able to utilize the space at Kirkhoff. If I'm correct, it is an allocation year, making this deployment even more important. Even though it is kind of unknown, I want to be able to be that liaison between student groups and Kirkhoff. And I hope that this will be my opportunity to do so.
Thank you. Okay, let's hear our recommendations.
Our recommended Charleston was a 3 to 0 to 0 vote. Oh, no, 2 to 1 to 0 vote. And the statement that we wrote. Carson provided a very professional interview and application. She is highly knowledgeable about the needs of student organizations on campus in regards to space allocation, and her experience being in staff will contribute to her ability to make decisions for the best outcome. With that being said, ARC would like to recommend Charleston for OSAC with a 2 to 1 to 0 vote.
Thank you. Okay. Deliberation period, any comments, concerns? Okay.
I just want to
Oh,
say I voted abstain because I worked with Justin previously, but she's an amazing worker. She was amazing in back last year, and I have no doubt that she'll be amazing in this school as well.
Thank you. Okay, can I have a motion?
I move to appoint Jocelyn to the office space allocation committee for 1 year.
All right, is there a motion? Gabby seconds, all fair, please use your hand. Please lower your hands. All against? All abstaining? All right, with 11 to 0 to 1 vote, that is approved. Okay, congratulations, Jocelyn. Moving to our last appointment of the night, we have DJF. And Betty. The volunteer. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you for being here. and giving me the opportunity to be here as well. It's a little nerve-wracking. Okay, so my name is Avantika Jasevi. I'm a second year MIMG major. I use she, her pronouns. I'm applying to be the internal outreach chair for the Green Initiative Plan for TGIF. Having been on campus a year already, I've seen ways UCLA could change, particularly towards the steps it is taking in its environmental goals. And having been too shy to apply earlier, I'm now here. And I've grown from that, which brings me here. And I would like to be part of the initiative that is working to make campus better in a way that I'm particularly passionate about, and that is through the environment. I'm an international student. I grew up in India, and my particularly privileged upbringing actually introduced me to the concept of sustainability in my country itself. And so in high school, I tried to work locally by being part of small fundraisers so that I could make a small difference in the community around me. And when the need to make a bigger difference arose, I started to apply for grants. And there was this one particular initiative I was particularly very proud of, which was called Bags to Bags, which won the CBE Harvard Sustainability Grant in 2021, and helped me implement a sustainability model along with some of my friends who were working on that initiative in the town of Jaipur in India. And that passion is basically what brought me and made me explore a little bit at UCLA and find TGIF. And so I feel like I would be the perfect fit for TGIF because I've been on both sides of the application. I have submitted applications and I understand what it takes to apply for a grant, and I recognize potential when I see it. And I also have been on the other side after receiving a grant and having worked to make my community more sustainable and environmentally friendly.
Thank you. Questions from council? Evan?
Thank you so much for coming out tonight, Avantika. My question for you is that this year we've seen a very significant increase in the number of applications that TGIF receives and the diversity of applicants. How would you promote TGIF as a resource for all students, not just those organizations immediately involved with sustainability?
Well, that's a great question. So I'm glad that there's more diversity in the applicants this year, and I feel like there can always be more. I feel like a great way to make TGIF more appealing to student bodies is, of course, by increasing its marketing. So like a few other Instagrams out there, TGIF has a few followers, but not as many as it should. I feel like more students should start to care about sustainability as an achievable goal here at UCLA. I also feel like TGIF can expand the way it functions. So not only working with clubs and organizations on campus, but eventually expanding to work even with the Hill and residential life. Residential life often works with clubs and organizations and helps them put on events. And I know that because I am now part of the Resident Government Council. And so as part of the Resident Government Council, it just occurred to me that TGIF can work with clubs and they can easily work with ResLife to make events on the Hill more sustainable. I also feel like, and this has been done to an extent, but students at UCLA definitely do care about the environment. They definitely are aware of environmental goals, but I feel like I could become way better than it is right now. I feel like there can be special events as well. That there was one initiative a few days ago actually on the Hill, put on by the CEC. I feel like more events like that are necessary, as well as getting the word about TGIF out through those events. So we could have very easily had a booth at the CEC event where we talked about what we do and how we do it. But I feel like it's tiny steps like that that can make a big change eventually. And I feel like I would like to inspire a lot more students to care about the environment here so that UCLA can truly become the most sustainable UC out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from council members? Okay, go ahead. It's your 1 minute closing statement.
Okay. Once again, I would like to thank all of you for being here and giving me the opportunity to speak. I feel like my experience with sustainability in the past will really help me with this position, and I'm so happy to learn and grow as I work here as well. I think I would like to make a stronger connection with the community through TGIF and make sustainability a more central and focused goal here at UCLA. Ultimately, I would just like to leave campus greener than I found it. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so let's hear our recommendation.
Our voted Avantika with a 3-0 vote, and our statement reads, Avantika's passion for sustainability and supporting student organizations shown through her application and interview. She knows the TJF fund and process well for her research and providing great ideas for how to improve it. As someone from outside USAC, we are confident in her abilities and optimistic viewpoint. I would like to recommend Avantika to the TJF committee with a 3-0 vote.
Thank you. Deliberation period, any comments, concerns before we head into a vote? I just want to commend you on coming to interview today. I really appreciate getting to hear from you. But yeah, awesome. Can I have a motion?
I motion to appoint Avantika to the TJF committee, for a 1-year term.
All right, making motions, Jen is second, so all in favor, please raise your hand. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining, please raise your hands. With an 11-0 vote, congratulations, you're now TGIF committee.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll be going into officer reports. Couple of things. My team, we wrote a statement with our immediate student association, which we posted on Instagram. It reached about 7,000 individuals and engaged with 1,000 working towards planning an event to educate general public on some of the issues concerning the students in the community. Met with representatives, me and Janice met with representatives from the IDMT team, to hear their remarks and comments regarding the recent resolution. We'll be going up with Janice sometime this week to further discuss things from that meeting. I traveled to UC Davis literally the day after our last council meeting for a 2-day conference at the Student Wellbeing Leadership Summit with Dr. Nicole Green and Seppi and some other folks from UCLA. I'm still awaiting presentation from that, and then I can send it across various channels. But we got to talk. Also got a chance to talk to some of the other UC presidents across campuses to see some of the amazing campaigns also at UC Davis itself. They have a recent campaign that's really targeting, well, they have a huge bike culture on their campus, but also targeting some of the, they're supposed to be getting electric scooters there soon as well. So definitely have some things that we can probably implement from there. And so some other things. Just myself was invited to join several committees that will be forming in this fall quarter. We'll provide updates once we begin to meet. Attended the UCLA Latinx Welcome, where Jonathan was able to speak, so that was amazing. It definitely opened the door for some collaborations with the HSI initiative for the near future. Also was able to help this weekend with the first year experience. They hosted a tailgate and they needed some help with getting folks checked in and helping guide students from the hill to the route bus to the road. So that was an experience. Freshmen got energy. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. And that was it for me. Megan, did you want to say anything out loud?
The appointment to be committee conducted 10 interviews this week with 7 of the candidates that were here today. Thank you all for showing up. Me and Josh, my AIB team, with Nathan Chen, GSA Director of Communications, and Guy Adams, ACCA, to talk about the 11th annual t-shirt contest and how we can get involved in promoting it. Submissions will be starting next Monday. So please reach out, or please watch out for that on IDP and ACCA Instagram. We've held our first all staff meeting yesterday. We almost had an entire filled classroom of 43 seats. If you'd like to attend the next all staff meeting, they are every Monday at 7 p.m. in Geology 6704. Please contact me or Josh to RSVP. We also held our first directors meeting yesterday at 7 p.m. So if you'd like to attend that as well, they are Mondays, but bi-weekly. Our ETA committee is working on our summer transparency report and monthly transparency reports. They're also working with my EC committee to create social media posts for state organizations, access funding resources. My EC committee is also working on creating presentations to reflect the student leadership toolkit created by Soul, and we'll be reaching out to organizations for spotlights. My internship directors are currently going through 20+ applications. And interviewing for the whole internship, we have had to limit our spots because we don't have property reservation. My institutionalized events and general events directors are working on marketing for the 11th annual ASC Slim T-shirt contest and the Truth and Raise nominations and ceremony planning. I'd like to shout out my publicity videography directors for hosting a social media presence this week. The IVP office currently has one open position for a chief of staff, to oversee 5 different committees within the IVP office. We are looking for someone with, USAC experience, preferably current or past IVP office experience to fill this role. If you or anyone is interested, please contact ivp@usac.ucla.edu. Recently, the UCSD Executive Vice President Leslie Billinghaus has reached out to me to discuss, internal matters at different UC, so to collaborate with that. And then lastly, I'd like to just show my support for all the people who public commented today. I know this was a difficult time for you guys, and I just want to show my support, and if you need anything, please reach out.
Eva.
Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I have a lot of UCSA updates for y'all as the discussion item once we get past these officer reports. So I'll save a lot of that for there. So we just had our October board of directors meeting. And then I'm pretty much just going to go down the list. So with our local advocacy this past week, we set up a meeting with the Northwestwood Neighborhood Council Houselessness Committee, and today I met with the UCLA local team for the Government and Community Relations Office. There we discussed a lot of the STC, safe parking, and initiatives we have coming up, as well as the Black Elected LA collab with ASU that we have in the pipeline, and kind of an intro. Also, we're planning to really bring rallies to the Metro Open House, Q&A meetings about the Sloan Transit Corridor. Those are going on next week, and I'm just going to quickly share when those are, so you all can mark your calendars. The first one is at the Westwood United Methodist Church on Tuesday, October 24th from 5:30 to 8. The next one is October 28th. That's a Saturday from 10 to 12:30 at the Marvin Broad Center in Van Nuys. The third one is virtual on Wednesday, November 1st, and you can go to bit.ly/capital Sepulveda no for November 1. I really encourage you all to go to one of those and express support for a heavy rail line with a direct connectivity to D line at the stop at UCLA's Gateway Plaza. For our state advocacy, this has been a pretty big week in the state because Governor Newsom has until October 14th to sign all the bills on his desk for this year before anything else is like two-termed or killed. 2 years. So super big week for that. We're looking to prepare a brief and do research on what bills have been passed, what they've been vetoed. Personally, he's making some interesting choices. But we'll definitely have a little chat about that next week. For our federal advocacy, they started having their first meetings. Federal's also kind of a mess in the government right now. But we're continuing to see what we can do to mitigate the fallout and the inevitable cuts of federal work study and the student educational opportunity grants, of which UCLA cumulatively gets like, I think it's like $5 million per year. So pretty big deal. Also, we finalized a date for Congressman Ted Lieu to come to campus. He is our congressman. That day is, sorry, I believe it is November 6th or November 8th at 1 p.m. He's coming to give like a quick Q&A, and we're also going to give him a tour of various like underserved resource centers on campus, kind of show that we need some support there. Also, the Association of Big Ten Schools reached out to me, Naomi, and Megan. And as you know, there's conference realignment. So we're looking to join that, or at least hear what that entails. That's great. I also met with the UCOB full board for their federal meeting to kind of hear about where their priorities are for the year, especially because the UC does not always support policies that students actually want. In terms of our civic engagement, we've been very busy. The Brood Ambassador program kicked off their orientation just tomorrow. They're also planning 2 democracy workshops. So if you're interested in like hearing from professors about like various like civic engagement things and also how to have really uncomfortable Thanksgiving conversations with your family who are support different political beliefs of you. I encourage you to check that out December 1st and December 14th. It's also Voter Education Week, I think last week, so they did a lot of online stuff. Also, they've been finalizing the brief sent to the county on Friday that will outline where we think any ballot drop-off boxes should be going. Super good because the county does not know that we do not they don't know what UCLA looks like and where people should be dropping those off. They're drafting the midterm, they're drafting a election guide to come out before the election in November. And I also met with Student Life and Bruins Vote to grade our voting infrastructure at UCLA. Relative to other UCs, we're looking pretty solid, but I'm not gonna lie, we're lacking a little bit. So we have a lot of work to do for student relations. That team finished gathering the Brood Advocacy Grant applications. They also met with ASUCLA admin. And they're doing some labor justice stuff for the coming weeks, so please keep an eye out for that. Our UC relations team was super busy doing research for the Acquire campaign, the RJN campaign, the SEED campaign for UCSA. Big shout out to them, and I'll cover that in our discussion topic later. I'm also planning to do some work with Tyra and ASU about RJN. So I'm really excited about that to kind of launch that campaign. And last but not least, the California or the CSU system TAs like filed to vote of whether or not they can create like a union. So like that's pretty exciting stuff, and we're really looking to help them out. That's it for me.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Most of my stuff's in the written report, but I'm just gonna cover a couple of things. So the Gen Rep 1 office is starting to create a curriculum on financial literacy. One of our directors gave us this idea to just educate UCLA undergrads on the stuff that you were learning in the typical financial literacy class, so we're going to bring it to that. But we also have a group of freshmen that are kind of our dedicated new freshman faces on the Hill that we've been speaking with. And we've been getting a lot of complaints on UCLA Dining and the mobile order app. So we're looking into that, about how we can improve that and improve every Hill resident's experience at UCLA Dining. And finally, I just want to thank you everyone for coming out to public comment. I just want you to know that it is very impactful when you come, and it's important that you come. And it's just a really great thing that you're doing for community, coming out and representing everyone.
Thank you. Jim Roden 2, Gabby. That's the mic over there.
Hi, everyone. So I actually have a statement today. And I would also like to include a trigger warning right now. We are mourning today. The Jewish community is mourning. We are mourning the loss of innocent lives. This past weekend was Simchat Torah, a holy and joyous Jewish holiday where we celebrate the ending of the reading of the Torah and the beginning of the new cycle. Unfortunately, this holiday I spent in devastation as I desperately searched for news as to whether my grandmother, uncles, cousins, and friends were dead or alive. And I can tell you that people I personally know were brutally murdered this weekend, and some have been taken hostage. Hamas, a terrorist organization, invaded Israel. They focused on killing civilians and taking civilians hostage. Boys and girls, mothers and fathers. There are entire families who were murdered in their homes. Concert goers, just like you and I, were gunned down. Teenage girls were raped. And while the rape was occurring, the terrorists called their parents so they could witness their own children's sexual assault before they were subsequently murdered. Today, we mourn the losses of innocent Palestinians and Israelis who have lost their lives because of terrorism.
The wholesale slaughter and rape of civilians is never justifiable, ever. To support our community, I strongly urge council members to please attend the peaceful vigil that will be hosted tomorrow to honor and mourn the lives that have been lost. Thank you, and that's all I have for today.
General Dave Jonathan.
Yeah, I would like to just, most of my stuff is the written report, but I'd like to just, highlight a couple things. So first I attended the Latinx Bienvenida last past Monday, was able to promote, my personal office, USAC, transparency, and just the general representative internship. I gave a speech on the importance of making space for Latinx students on campus, especially considering the size of this group and the years-long lack of institutional support. Just as a friendly reminder, Latinx students are about 22% of the student population, and we still do not have any space to work. People showed many interest in the USAC, especially the freshman students. So I was very excited to be able to, introduce them to that space. I look forward to meeting with the HSI initiative again, and I appreciate their deep work in ensuring that this community can be equally supported. And bringing ultimately the establishment of a Latinx resource center in the near future. I had the opportunity to meet with a couple of our peers at ASUC at Berkeley, and I learned about the recent loss of their Latinx center, which I find very appalling. And I hope to converse with some of their senators to see how we can support each other in a common struggle to build space for ourselves. Onto a lighter note, in exchange, the Burning Buddies exchange student system will be launching in the next couple of weeks. That is in collaboration with the International Student Representative, Adam. So I'm very excited to get that work going. Working on the digital brewing card initiative. My staff is actively working on a survey to go out to students in the future to kind of see how they're feeling about that. And yeah, besides that, that's all I've got. And if you want more details, it's on my weekly officer report. Thank you.
Thank you. Sujan, did you want to say anything aloud?
Yes, please. Most of my updates are in the written report. If anything, I'd like to highlight that I attended my first undergraduate council meeting this past Friday, which was very successful. Undergraduate council is a significant committee on the Senate, and so that was a productive. But I would like to make a statement tonight. I'd like to say that the Palestinian cause has always been especially dear to my heart. And in fact, I just made a statement to that effect at council last week. But with the deepest sincerity, I hope that my Jewish friends and peers know that my dreams of a free Palestine have never included and will never include a bloodlust for Jews. For years, I have condemned the crimes committed against Palestinians. And so tonight, I would be remiss not to acknowledge that the desecration of the elderly, young, and women is objectively horrifying. The humanity that I've seen tonight is not escape. And my heart aches for innocents who have lost their lives and will lose their lives due to such violence. And I pray that collective punishment is not to come in the
Thank you. Mason has a report. Jay.
Hi guys, okay, so my updates for the week. Last year, due to personal circumstances by the previous CSE leadership, they were unable to complete the applications for the Robert S. Mango Scholarship Award. But so over summer, the committee of my new staff, we completed the application reviews and all 10 students have been dispersed with the award. So shout out to Jonathan for also helping out with that. Last week, we organized Surrogacy Fest, which was a success. We had around 300 attendees and over 35 student groups who hosted interactive activities, including Jeopardy game about HIV, AIDS, fast fashion. Attendees also made thank you cards for veterans, wounded heroes, and first responders, and also created fleece time blankets for the elderly. Our advocacy team will be collaborating with other food insecurity and food sustainability arts next Monday for a little event in Grand Plaza. The purpose of the event is to spotlight the issue of food insecurity in conjunction with World Hunger Day. And also kind of inspire the student body to educate themselves and take action to combat this issue. Last Wednesday, we also had our Gen retreat where we conducted a bunch of workshops to inform our CSC projects about the resources that are available for them. This past weekend, we also had a staff retreat where we got to meet our staff and bond after a really hectic 2 weeks. So that was really nice. And yeah, finally, I also just want to make a statement that I strongly condemn all forms of terrorism and violence. And I send my sincere condolences and thoughts to all members of our undergraduate community who have been or who have had loved ones been affected by what happened this past weekend. I am really, really sorry for your loss. And I also want to thank you for coming out today. I know I can't imagine how hard it must be for all of you, but yeah, I'm truly no student should feel unsafe on campus. And yeah, and I really hope that, you know, council and everyone here can show their support for the Jewish community. And also please let me know if there's anything else I can do to support during this time. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Culture Affairs Commission has a written report. Facilities, Evan, did you want to say anything out loud?
Yeah, there's a couple things I want to highlight. The first one about TGIF. So TGIF funding is going to be open for our first round. That's this Friday at midnight. You can apply for the main capital X infrastructure or tokens of appreciation. We have changed up the application process just a little bit. So instead of having separate mini and main applications, they're now just combined into one. Hopefully that can help streamline it a little bit easier. It also means that you have 4 opportunities to apply for a main fund in a quarter rather than just the one. We also have Disability Pride Week is this week. There's 2 events that have already happened. The Facilities Commission was there tabling yesterday at the kickoff event. It was really great. There's great live music, great food. But there are some events that are still happening this weekend or this week. Tomorrow, there's going to be an accessibility social media training. If you're not able to attend that one, don't worry. The Facilities Commission will be having accessible web training coming soon. There's also going to be a disability cultural etiquette training on Thursday. There's an inclusion and accommodation support that's from the Center for Accessible Education, CAP. And then also on Thursday, there's going to be disability studies information session. So if you guys are interested in disability studies minor and soon to be major, great time to go get some more information there. There's also a pop-up disability themed book displays and Howell and Music Library this Friday. You can come anytime during regular hours. Also going to retweet what you said about the School to Transit Corridor community meeting happening on Tuesday, October 24th. I think we're gonna have a pretty good crowd between EVP, FAC, and the Institute for Transportation Engineers. Other stuff that we've been working on this week. So we met with Susan Seplow and Nick Luca to discuss temporary locations for the Disability Cultural Center. It's been very difficult to find a space that does meet the accessibility requirements, because as we all know, space is very limited on campus, but I'm feeling we're moving in the right direction and hopefully have something open by next quarter. We also met with members of the DSU and Janice, our Student Wellness Commissioner, to discuss next steps with COVID-19 resolution. We're continuing to coordinate with administration, but in the meantime, we're working on increased signage and resources on campus. Also worked with the University Committee on Disability, DSU, UCLA Transportation, and the ADA 504 Compliance Office. There was an instance that happened during move-in and continually that's been raised by DSU about UCLA owned vehicles actually blocking disabled parking spaces. Also during move-in, the spaces were completely roped off with chairs, and it just made the movement process for students with disabilities. It makes the parking process so much more difficult. We sent a very strongly worded letter, and luckily they did get back to us with a couple of things they're trying to implement. We're working to have a meeting with them as well, make sure this doesn't happen again. Final update on the, I guess more like the Facilities Commission side of things is the Sustainables team. We're working to implement a reward system. Well, the reward system's launched for the Reezy program. Next time you guys are at Kirkcott Coffee House, I recommend that you go ahead and get a reusable mug. Not only are you guys cutting down on waste, you're saving a couple cents, and if you do it 10 times this year, you can get a free pastry. I kind of to shift gears a little bit. I really want to echo the statement that Sujana made, and I think that she said it much better than I ever could. I think that we can believe in a free Palestine and not support the terrorist organization that is Hamas and not support the terror that is being inflicted on Israeli civilians, Israeli children, and Israeli women. I am really concerned that there's a little bit of a lack of empathy coming from certain members of council when we have people who are coming to our council meetings. They're talking about their own personal relations, the people that they know who are missing, who are injured, who are dead, and we can't give any empathy. Our job here is to represent all students, regardless of our own personal beliefs, our own political beliefs. When students on campus feel unsafe, it's our job to stand up for them. Whether you're Israeli, whether you're Palestinian, we're all human. That's my only statement, but I appreciate everything.
Thank you. And moving to Sarah, Financial Supports Commissioner.
We'll just start by putting a trigger warning. This week has been unspeakably difficult for Jewish, Israeli, and Palestinian students. Specifically for the Jewish community, our hearts have been split with the excruciating reality that many of us know people who have been indiscriminately murdered, kidnapped, raped, and have experienced mass violence. Many of us also have family who are living in this reality and who haven't been able to get into contact with our families to see if they're safe. And many of us, even without family in the region, feel the collective pain of our children, women, and elderly people who have faced horrific levels of anti-Semitism and don't know what to do. I appreciate the council members who have spoken in support. I do want to ask council to reflect on our roles and how, no matter how powerless we feel, our roles are to represent all students on campus, to make sure all students on campus are feeling safe and represented. We must stand with Jewish, Israeli, and Palestinian students and not bring political issues into this conversation at this time when so many students are hurt and healing. While this incident has shown unprecedented levels of violence, my family experienced similar stories of anti-Semitism in Iran. Both my parents were forced to flee their homes when they were children due to anti-Semitism. Members of my family have been executed because they were Jewish in Iran. This is the same regime that is supporting Hamas and the destruction of our communities today. With everything going on today, the FSC Commission mourns the losses of innocent Palestinian and Israeli who have lost their lives resulting from terrorism. As a reminder to all members of USAC, the Jewish community is in mourning. Please give us the time and space to do so without politicizing the mass murder of innocent lives. Murder and rape are not resistant. These are acts of violence committed against our people and should be treated with the same level of severity if this violence was inflicted on any other community. To everyone who is not being affected by this, please do not bring this to council. It hurts our community during a time when our students should be focused on their family's safety and not having to come to public comment. I also want to stand in support of Gabby. As a result of her speaking out about these issues in support of the community, she has received hate online and has received a purposeful, very slanderous account on Instagram. That behavior should not be tolerated, especially when she and the Jewish community are going through enough suffering not to be faced with increasing levels of anti-Semitism and increasing levels of hate.
Hi, everyone. I have written updates. Biggest thing is that, this week, like, we mentioned, we're following up with the DSU resolution with the IDMT, so we'll have updates for that. Regarding that, probably sometime next week, me and I are cooking, and, for SWC updates, from now on, we're doing our weekly, like, all staff meetings now. And we do our own internal like updates sheet, so that's gonna be linked on my updates for anyone to see what all of our 13 committees and our internal board is working on. Just for transparency. And then lastly, Thursday, this week, actually 3 to 6 on Wilson Plaza is our health coming event, and it's crazy, y'all. Come out. If you register ahead of time on Instagram, you can be entered to win an Apple Watch, an Isabel Animal Crossing themed plushie, SWC merch. And just if you show up on the day of the event, there's goat yoga, a petting zoo, acai bowls, massages. It's gonna be crazy. So please come out. And of course, I don't want to ignore the elephant in the room.
tonight's public comment session was so impactful to me, and I will remember this moment forever, I think. It's really, really powerful. Honestly, being on council can get really monotonous and really, what are we doing with our time right now? How, you know, we do the hand raise and all of that, but I feel like you all who came out tonight really demonstrated like the power of community coming together and showing up and civic engagement. And I do want to say too that silence from my office or people in my office is not a reflection of how we feel about the event. I'm talking to my partner every night about what's happening. We're educating ourselves. At least from me, anything that I haven't like publicly spoken on, I just really feel like it's such a delicate topic that I don't want to take any steps without educating myself properly. And again, you guys coming out tonight, I'm gonna remember that. And I am so, so sorry for your loss. And you know, again, I'm just one student, you guys are students too, but Student Wellness Commission, our goal is to make sure the health and wellness of our community. So in your community, if you guys want to be representatives of them, if you have other folks that would be support, I gave you my phone number, so just text me, let me know what I can do. Because you guys are gonna be the ones who know what you need in this moment right now. I can't speak for you. So yeah, reach out. I am here for you all, and you're so strong.
Thank you. Moving to Transfer Senior Representative Tara.
Last week I went to the first general body meeting for the Filipino Transfer Student Partnership. We talked a lot about what it means to hire transfer students who are Filipinx, how to get involved. I specifically talked about the TSR's office and how I was able to fiscally support the TSC last quarter with the USAC surplus. Last Friday I had my event, I offered the TSR, which was really interesting. A lot of the transfer students that came didn't really know what TSR was, but they still shut up and were interested in learning more. And by the end of the event, got more people involved with the office, personally through our staff committee, so that's really cool. I met with Gary Clark also to talk about the differences between freshman admit enrollment rates and like transfer admit enrollment rates. And then like a specific dive into like racial and ethnic divisions and like differences as well as like differences between certain identity groups, so like former class youth, non-traditional, parents and transfers, veterans, et cetera, et cetera. I also attended the UC Riverside UCSA meeting with the EPP. We talked about cool things like the Medina Lobby Day, which I myself am personally gonna try and get involved with the planning board to make sure that that transfer population is represented in our space, as well as Afro Latinx community as well. Speaking of, I had a meeting with Monica on Wednesday to discuss our Central American Transfer Experience event. Which will be right before the UC applications are due, so if anyone is interested in that, please let me know. And then, just to echo what Jenna said, I think any silence that's coming from TSR is just from a general lack of knowledge of like your own experiences. I myself, as a Black person, have had to watch Black people be killed every day. Just the other day, a Black student on campus was arrested for just riding a scooter on the sidewalk. So we're definitely not deaf to what you guys are saying. I think that a lot of us on council have experiences with this situation, but it is it's a really interesting thing to navigate as a USAC council member, especially when you already come from a marginalized background and being a Black transfer student. Within a really politicized space, like we have to choose our words carefully. Like we don't want to say the wrong things to you all to be insensitive or to basically use our privilege as council members to speak about something that we're not that educated on, if that makes sense. So I was trying not to make that mistake. I will say, however, whether you're Israeli or you're Palestinian Jew, I do show support for all students because your students go into our offices and us as council members. So I think a lot of us agree that we're very, very, very sorry that this has happened to you all, and that we're hoping in the future that you all will think that USAC is representative of your concerns, and I think especially for like the people on council who are Jewish, so we're hoping to like show support for y'all as well. I will offer, maybe it might be something helpful for USAC to have some kind of coalition building or like solidarity event around the Israel Palestinian conflict and how we can envision like some kind of community healing, especially at UCLA, if that makes sense. I don't know what that would look like. I don't know if that's been done in the past, but I do think that's something that's going to be helpful. Because if we do not have community conversations around this, I do think that this feeling of hostility amongst our student body is going to fester, and it's going to turn into something that is toxic for everybody involved. So I will offer that up to this space. I hope that makes sense. But if y'all ever need any direct support, or if there's any transfer students who feel like they are directly involved with this, please send them my way so I can provide the necessary support.
Thank you. International Student Representative Adam.
Hi, everyone. Pretty slow week this week. We're conducting interviews for all his staff. We started hiring some people, yeah. We hosted a support space in collaboration with CAPS for students affected by the events in Libya, Morocco, and Armenia. We're exploring the possibility of more events similar to this one. I attended the Lebanese Student Association General Meeting last Thursday, and we're gonna hopefully be working on some project in the future. I met with the communications coordinator of the DASHU Center, and we talked about DASHU and ISR relations and how we work together moving forward. Some good things are gonna come from that. As Jonathan said, we're working on Word Buddies, which is a buddy program for exchange students, so that they can be better immersed in the UCLA experience. And lastly, we're working on, in the UCSA International Student Coalition, we're working on our campaign goals. The first one is to establish international student representatives at UC Merced and UC Santa Cruz, because they currently do not have any ISRs. And lastly, I just want to send peace and love to anybody that needs it right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Now moving to Administrative Representative Superintendent.
Hello, everyone. Just my usual update, and I promise this may be the last time I bring this up. Re-registration of and new registration for orders are needed this fall. Thank you. So let me just start over. Re-registration and new registration is coming to an end this Friday. And so if you don't register your group or begin the process, then your group will be dropped as an RCO. New registration also, if you're interested, you still have a few days to register a new group, which is also deadline is Friday. This Thursday, the Campus Programs Committee Regular Fund and the Campus Committee Youth Programming Fund are due. One is $8,500, the youth programming is $9,500. For those of you that may not remember, CPC funds on campus programming and CPC youth funds on campus youth programming, which includes the transfer community. Those applications are due this Thursday at 4 p.m. So if you are interested in applying to those funds and programming between November 18th and December 15th, you would be eligible to apply. That's all I have.
Thank you. Yeah. Right.
I don't care because Jessica.
Yeah.
Wow, I don't have a lot, just back from vacation and I owe like 5 of you email responding to this, so sorry. It's been a long week back. I feel like I've been gone from this space for like 6 months and it was only 2. So I promise your response is coming.
Thank you. Jonathan.
Hey, hello, folks. Happy Tuesday. A couple of things from me. If you are Gen Rep 1, 2, Cultural Affairs, Financial Supports, International Student, or Transfer Student Rep, please connect with Jack so we can schedule our mirror training. So we've started those this week and they've been going quite well. Kind of answer all the things that people in your office might want to do or maybe might want to know. And we'll run into it in the year. Yes, Tyra. Jack is our. When you get an email from ASUCLA Student Government Services, it's usually either coming from Jack or Lana. Those are our 2 student staff who work in our office, and they do a lot for us. So he was here earlier today. If you saw the guy sitting by me reading the newspaper, because he reads a physical newspaper, that was Jack. So it's that SGS at ASUCLA.ucla.edu. If you've yet to bring your funding guidelines, please do so. As you start to make allocations, please remember the universal funding sheet. It's how you're gonna get your account numbers and how we're gonna increase that accountability. Hiring, I don't know if there's any particular things on that. I'll pass it to him after. But if you are hiring, please hire. And then last but not least, as many of you know, my office door is always open. My literal title here is support manager. So I am here to support you. Let me know how I can do so.
Thank you. Andrew?
It's been a one day. When it comes to hiring, there is 130 plus new USAC hires, and that's only the people that have sent me a spreadsheet or with names and emails. So there's more to come. So just keep an eye on your emails, so we can keep that moving forward as quickly as possible and get it hired as quickly as possible, because every week that, let's just say you don't send me any emails, that's just another week that they don't possibly don't end up getting paid. So the offices that tend to have budget for that, please reach out to me. Because I think there might be two offices I'm concerned about right now. And I know times are really tough right now, so let me know what time, but that being said, I will await the names and emails to get that process going. The other thing I want to mention is the universal funding allocation sheet. When you bring allocations to the table, please make sure that they're there so that we are able to look at them beforehand to make sure that they're abiding with guidelines. And yeah, funding guidelines are important.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna pass it back to Jonathan really quickly.
Yeah, I would also like to make a statement myself. I just wanted to articulate something correctly that previously mentioned by my peers. As a proud Guatemalan, I've always stood with the liberation and the freedom of all indigenous groups. I know firsthand the effects that violence and war can have on them. As many of you know, Guatemala was in a ruthless and brutal civil war for over 30 years, where millions were displaced and over 200,000 were murdered in what was an indigenous genocide. In this war, some of my family members were lost, as well as my family was forced to flee our country due to this bloody war. War is an experience that I know firsthand, and that I see daily in the faces of Guatemalans, both in the homeland and those displaced. I only wish that this does not become the same for you all, and that your communities can prosper in peace. I stand proudly with both the Jewish and Palestinian communities as they grieve the loss of their respective communities, and I condemn the violence and terrorism occurring in the Middle East. This ruthless violence will only lead to more conflict and destruction. Both of these communities have been devastated by ruthless war, and I pray for a free Palestine and a peaceful Jewish state. I can only imagine the grieving that your communities are experiencing. And while my experience is not identical to yours, I understand the pain of seeing the suffering of those you love most. I give you all solidarity on behalf of my people and the communities impacted in the Middle East, both Jewish and Palestinian. Thank you.
Hey, Jonathan. Okay. So now we do not have any old business on the agenda, but we do have two new business items. Go ahead, you with the UCSA October board recap.
Hi, everyone. Before I begin this recap, I want to really agree to what everyone else has pretty much said. I think, but very simply, I think you can advocate for both a free Palestinian state as well as condemning Hamas and against anti-Semitism.
And that is what I stand for, and that's what the community office stands for. That being said, I think, a really big way that we can push for, supporting communities on campus and off campus is through legislative advocacy, whether that's corny or not. I think like I'm very grateful that I get to participate in that process and get to advocate for my community. That being said, I did want to recap the UCSA Board of Directors meeting that we had this past weekend. UC Student Association, for those of you who do not know, is the statewide board of the EVPs across every UC campus. And we meet every month to discuss our campaign goals. So I just really wanted to overview them and discuss like how you can get involved and just so I guess for full transparency, so like where your student like fees like money is going. So a big thing for our choir campaign, which is a basic needs center campaign. Our main objective there, that's something that I didn't really know about, is we really want to try to find we want to meet with UCLA's chief well-being officer. There's one of these officers at every UC campus, and they are responsible for allocating annually $21.3 million in mental health funding. But they've been very unclear about like where that money is going, like where it's going to go. And we really want there to be more student input in this process. So something that EVP really wants to do as part of this Acquire campaign is just understand like where that money is going at UCLA, so we can make sure that there is adequate mental health support for students at UCLA. And so I think that's super important with everything being discussed today. Additionally, so previously this campaign goal was stated to be getting like a forensic examination site of every campus with a SA nurse examiner. However, due to more research, we're kind of shifting that goal a little bit to both more care support and confidential resources, as well as an SART training to nurses who already work at the UC. So that way we can like bypass the fact that the UC is simply like this fiscal year is just a little bit rough when it comes to state funding. So that's kind of the shift in advocacy there to better increase as well like nurse training and retention for those at like UC hospitals. And so this month we're trying to pass resolutions on each campus to those conversations with chief wellbeing officers, harm reduction, educational events planning, as well as like care system, like the care like office, like system-wide meetings with these. We also have a wonderful racial justice now campaign, and I don't want to take the mic away from Tyra in this instance. So after I finish talking, if you want to add anything else to this, please do. But so RJN has been off to a great start, and we're really looking to do some like programming between EVP and ASU about this to further this goal and really get the grassroots support needed for the Black Endowment Fund to support better attention and programming for Black students across the UC and UCLA. For Fund the UC, I briefly mentioned in my update that we did an infrastructure grading card for every UC's like civic preparedness, I would say, for November, but also for March. And so this month we're kind of like finalizing the results of that. And we're trying to draft like 1-pagers for the governor kind of on like I guess like this stuff, as well as some other like UC wide things with regards to like legislative stuff, pretty much getting involved in November and March, blah, blah, blah. Pretty good. With the SEED campaign, that is our Students Acting Environmental Defense campaign. They created a framework to research like landscaping practices and current available flora across campuses to really like not only build a relationship between admin and indigenous communities and organizations. But really see how, like, that communication can be improved, and ensure that like local indigenous people, are being like, included in discussions about how that landscaping and then how the outdoor spaces are being set up. And so they're also like getting good timelines for events and ways to build awareness, for local indigenous advocacy efforts. I think I'm covered, I agree. That is pretty much it in terms of what the updates were. So now I kind of wanted to touch a little bit more on like how students can get involved and just what we can expect to see. We're going to be doing a lot of information diffusion with the Acquire campaign and that resolution I touched on. This is going to be like a pretty big push that we do in EVP, and like finding the support for that would be amazing, just so we can really make sure that we can be properly like allocating money that we are literally already getting. And also same with the RGN campaign. There's gonna be a lot of really good specific like asks to both these resolutions. And so I just really encourage folks when this comes out to help uplift support for them and like help us in our meetings with admin or like commitments or budget discussions, things like that, just so we can uplift both mental health advocacy as well as the retention and programming for Black students at UCLA. And last but not least, I wanted to let you all know what we will be discussing with the UCOP president, Drake, later this month, in a couple weeks. Me and the EVPs, some other folks will be talking to him, not only about like the RGN and C campaigns, but also discussing like the status of civic infrastructure at our campuses, as well as advocating for the UC Merced Medical School and bringing more health access to that general area where it's pretty lacking, just to better support them and their efforts for that. And last but not least, school anti-discrimination policies that have come up in our campus climate research UCSA has been doing. So that's pretty much what we talked about, where your CVs are going to UCSA and what we plan on focusing on. Any questions?
Thank you. Okay, appreciate it. Going into our next line item, we have discussion on community programs office, Tyra.
Question before we go into that. So like Alicia, put forth an ARC recommendation today for TSR that we voted on. But I got an email from Fernando saying that that is not being processed by SGA. So I was wondering if we could talk about that in this meeting as well. Considering that money that she's providing is for transfer welcome.
Can it be an offline? I'm not sure what's there to discuss.
Well, I
All
think
of us here.
because originally or essentially from this email, it says that like the funding allocation goes against what council voted on.
The guideline?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm specifically asking if there's a way for council to vote on this so that SGA can process it.
Fernando.
So, you can always, add it to the agenda as a discussion. I was trying to solve it offline. That's up to you.
I think the question was. I'm sorry, I don't know what the question was. The question was if there's a vote we could do to allow for it, but if it's against the guidelines, then I'm sorry, it's against the guidelines for me. I don't know the specifics because I'm not seeing the email in front of me. That's why I believe this is an offline issue, and I would like to go to the next discussion item, which is discussion on community programs office. Thank you.
I understand that, but like this allocation is gonna impact the entire week of programming. So if you're able to at least talk about it and at least you can provide more context, that would be great.
So is it a question for Alicia or?
So who's the question for? But I'm asking y'all as council, if y'all are going to allow Alicia to send an ARC fund to TSR for the transfer welcoming. Because SGA is saying that it can't go through.
Okay, I'm not saying, hands, how about this? Let's be council, you bet.
If like we have this discussion, like what do you think we would do?
I'm not sure. And that's what I was asking, is like that data process, because I'm not sure how this works. And that's why I was saying if Alicia has more context that she can give.
Okay.
It's essentially our funding, so I'm asking y'all because essentially what is being, what I'm getting from this is saying that it's going against what we voted on. So we would take our approval again to make the funds go through.
I guess maybe a question for Fernando. So is the issue the fact that we're self-funding from a USAC organization back to USAC? What's the issue here?
Okay, so just have a discussion, I guess. But unfortunately, it's pretty simple. The art guidelines that were approved the last week do not allow for, allocations just yet. There's essentially no discussion to be had because the guidelines are set in stone from what was approved last week. And the art guidelines don't give CAC or art the ability to make an exception like this. So when it comes to art and this specific allocation that was approved by council, there essentially SGA cannot go against the guidelines that were approved by council. And this was brought to my attention after the approval. So even if council approves it, if it goes against the guidelines, there's nothing that can be done.
Simple, thank you. Sujana?
Yeah, I just want to clarify on the point of not being able to make allocations yet. Was that like in the guidelines? I just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This-
Okay.
The application is open. It closes week 4 or week 5. Then there's hearings week 5 and the decisions are made week 6. Or are they're brought to council week 6 and
Thank you. Discussion item, discuss on community programs office. Sarah.
So, I think that we need to have a discussion about CPO, just the fact that a lot of y'all are in charge of making appointments that directly relate to the mother boards and directly relate to the experiences that students of color have had on campus, particularly Black students, especially in a space like USAC that is largely anti-Black. I think that we do need to have an in-depth conversation about CPO. And I think within that conversation, we do need to talk about how USAC funds were released to CPO without council's authority last quarter. I think that to move past the CPO conflict and to pretend like nothing has happened is kind of wild. And while we're having this conversation about oppression, one of the most oppressive entities on campus has been allowed to just run amok. You haven't even asked for audits from CPO for a long time. We have not received audits from CPO for a long time. The director of the program has 3 lawsuits filed against him, that were all filed by Black women from ASU. So I think as council members, while we're talking about solidarity with marginalized communities, we need to show solidarity with the mother boards, particularly the African Student Union. And so I just wanted to open up this space for discussion, but also if we could talk about specific action items that we can take as USAC council to address just CPO as a whole. And CPO is very problematic in multiple different stances, and so there's a lot to unpack there. I don't know what this conversation is gonna lead to. I don't think that's gonna be solved all night, so I just wanted to open it up.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you first to Tyra for bringing up like the CPO discussion. I think not a lot of offices get to think about the CPO or like interact with the CPO that much, but AAC is actually one of them, thanks to our historic relationship with the MOs, and the retention projects that are housed under CPO, SASC, CRC. I totally agree. I think one thing that we could really benefit from is working on kind of those like actual items and collective action, collective demands to CPO. I know one of the biggest things was demanding the itemized budget, itemized, kind of account of where that money is going. I personally think that's something that's still worth devoting our attention to. I mean, I was on previous councils where that demand wasn't met, so I don't know how like hopeless it is or how much it's worth, devoting our attention to. That to me seems big.
And then go ahead to Eva and then go back to Sarah.
Yeah, kind of in that, it's so loud. Kind of in that same line of thinking, like, with the report that we released last year about like how UCLA should have like a financial transparency mechanism for something, for CPO, wondering like, like, if you also could like help explain, or if anyone knows, like, if like above Antonio, like who is that? Like who could we go and like not lobby, but like lobby in admin, like upper admin to kind of be like, hey, like this report said this, and like USAC is in support of what it says in having this like financial transparency. Like, is it my fault that question?
But everyone knows about this, and so does Gene Block.
Do you think, or like, I feel like this is, like, I think this could be like resolution vibes, but also like, but that's obviously not enough, I feel like what else do we all, I think I'd love for part of this discussion to be like, what are the next steps that we need to take?
I'll let Sarah go and then I can give my piece.
I think dealing with this issue last year, two things come to mind. One is resolutions can sometimes be performative, but in this case, we could make specific demands that we would like to see in a resolution, specifically past resolutions that call for direct meetings with the directors of CPO, but also I think what is the best use of our time is working. I don't know if it's with Vice Chancellor Gordon or Tony, but to rework the memorandum that we have between USAC and CPO. Because currently the demands for financial transparency only include that there will be financial transparency and no stipulations, meaning that the financial transparency report that we currently have technically meet the current demands, even if they don't really fulfill any, providing us with any meaningful information. So my office would be more than happy to work on that in collaboration with USR or any other office who would like to join. I also would like to make a, bring up the topic of USAC maintaining our financial autonomy, because as we know, that is where a lot of our power comes from, specifically when the checks were released. And I think that also includes not taking away from the CBO, as you said, a big thing, but we also give money to a lot of organizations on campus, and that should be, we should have knowledge where that money is going as well. So my office will also be working that. Thank you.
Okay. So quick thing, me and Sarah, we had a conversation like beginning. Yeah. Okay, cool. I just wanted to kind of remind myself. With this discussion item, I know I had said that I was going to try and send resources out, and I do apologize for my failure to do that. It's been a week. And so I can definitely send some information I've had. I know some people, are mentioning access to a report. Basically from that report, brief summary, it was done by an outside source on, the CPO records that we were given, that were supposed to account for financial transparency. And it basically said they were being transparent at the end of the day. There was other things in that that I will be able to send out, for you to take a look at so you can feel more caught up in, what has happened. I guess brief history is that I think it's hard to have this conversation without the mother words. And I think, as Tara's mentioned, with the lawsuits, with, the discrimination, with the, say, work environment that folks have mentioned throughout the years, I think with that, it's with the direct space, that these projects are housed in, their interactions, and that needs to be a conversation that we have with the mother orgs. And if they want USAC support in, because for folks that were on council last year, you know, people tried to send messages via GroupMe, via email, and we didn't really get anywhere. So it comes down to that question, if the mother organizations want our support in that conversation, what would that look like? Would that be a mediation with somebody we bring in, maybe in Nicole Green, and folks and Tony in that space with these project leaders to see how we move forward, to see if there's a possibility of making this space feel safer. But when it comes to USAC history and involvement, it's the check, at the end of the day. So previous councils, were able to withhold the check, to CPO. And that was due to the fact that there was not financial transparency. When it was questioned time and time again, there was always an excuse of, we can't do it. For some reason. So the check was withheld, as Tara mentioned, there was a lot of things that happened last year. Not a resolution, but not resolution, but like not a solution. In that, my check ended up being released, without very much USAC knowledge, council-wide. Only one commissioner was basically known that, and then it didn't get shared till later. But when I had to, first express this to Sarah, a couple of times, before, the reason I didn't really bring it up over summer is because, I'm sorry, our attendance kind of sucked over summer. I didn't think it was the most it wasn't the greatest time to bring it up, especially as folks were international, folks were doing other things. There wasn't going to be a present conversation to be had. But when I brought this up to Sarah, when we were talking about ways to hold people accountable and include financial transparency for this year, is that, as Sarah just mentioned, there are multiple places that receive checks from USAC. And it's in a stipulation somewhere, but they're supposed to come to USAC meetings to provide basically what they did with that money. So I would like to do that with every place, every entity that we send a check to. So that it's, in a way, we're not singling out a certain entity, but we're including all the folks that receive money to tell us what this went to in person at our meetings, but also how it supported students at the end of the day, because that's what this money's supposed to do. So that would be a letter that would be received when we send the check, that would be a letter. I see this in the form of a letter. And then from there, we would go back to the drawing board for seeking more financial transparency, from CPO, and then also seeing with the mother organizations, how they want us to help, if they want us to help in getting support and how we can make it a safer space for them to operate in. That is what I had, but would love to hear, we'll go to Tyra, then Eva.
Yeah, I'd just like to give perspective. Council voted to restrict funds to CPO, which amounted to about 2.7 million. And the fact that Alicia is not able to send $2,000 to the TSR office, but ASUCLA was able to get around our goal and send $2.7 million to CPO, no financial accountability, is kind of crazy. And the fact that I brought this up to you all, and you know, that's kind of passivity about what I was asking for. I think that's why people don't feel safe in this environment. But I said to say, as the TSR, but also the ASU chair, ASU has historically been the only mother board that has been perpetually targeted by CPO. All the mother boards may have their history with CPO, but it's a given fact that ASU is representing Black students. And so I think I am asking the council for help because it's very clear that they do not take our concerns seriously. It's very clear that ASU is very marginalized in the CPO space. The fact that every other mother board's projects are housed in SAC except for ASU, I think that is signaling of that, and the fact that I didn't see a lot of that discussion happening on the USAC council last year. So I am asking for my support from the council, from both the TSR and the ASU standpoint. And I say TSR because there are general sentiments around who CPO benefits. I don't even think transfer students benefit from CPO, especially those of color. And those who do benefit from CPO are students who necessarily don't have that historical background about CPO has occurred there for their peers. So, but just like to emphasize that and to encourage intentionality as we're engaging around this situation, because this is also a topic that should be dealt with care, especially when student safety and well-being are on the line.
Is the student union manager the one who cuts the check? Like the actual staff members?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a bunch. Oh, wait, no, that's it, no.
You know, like what?
That comes science.
I don't think we had 5 comp science last year though, I think it was a.
Oh, are you talking about the BOD?
Yeah, I think.
Oh, okay. But still, my com would sign in that case, correct?
Last year they did it.
Oh.
Josh never signed. For my out.
Gosh, design last year.
He did?
And also, for your information, like Josh's signature wasn't necessary and isn't necessary. That power does lie with the student union director, as overseeing all student units as the signatory. They can sign that and send it over.
Okay. But Justin signed. So, yes. Recapping my next steps, because you did say you want to hear what next steps would be. Is to send, make sure all the offices had the report that was done last year by that outside source. To starting drafting the letter that will be with the checks. Sent to not only CPO, but to all entities that receive USAC funding, basically. Next would be to reach out to the mother organizations. I think it would be most conducive to do more one-on-ones with the mother orgs rather than trying to gather all of them in one meeting. We tried that once last summer. And it was a shit show, sorry. And so I think doing that would be more. It would lead to better conversation, because recognizing that each mother organization has a different need when it comes to this situation as Tara expressed. Those will be the next steps from my end. Would definitely love if people are interested in collabing and helping draft a letter and helping in other ways, whether that's a resolution, as other folks have mentioned. I think it would be great. But yeah, just let me know, let Tara know, let whoever know who wants to start working on this. Megan?
I'm happy to help with like anything, drafting resolution letter or sending any memoranda. I know the vote was from ASU's like BOD last year, if I'm correct. I've been keeping in contact with some of the undergraduate representatives that we appointed to ASC Slate Bond, so I'll be meeting with them regularly since one of them is in my office, and I plan to include USAC council members in that as well, just so that we can provide like updates and get updates from them. I don't think that happened last year at all. So, and since ASC Bond is almost like all students, I think it's important that we like keep in contact with them, so I'll be doing that this year. Along with,
Yeah, definitely. I was very intentional of going to some of the first BOD meetings this year, so I will try and continue to do so. And I personally know most of our undergraduate appointments and some of the graduate appointments as well. So me and Megan will definitely stay on that to make sure a situation doesn't reoccur. But I think we kind of got through to them last year with some of the conversations, but definitely we will ensure that that doesn't happen. Okay. All right, I adjourn this meeting at 9:53.